Finally hit 100 subscribers! Oh man. What's up guys, welcome back. This video I will be showing you guys how to play Digimon. A very simple card game right now because it's so easy to understand. The cards are fairly new, so there's nothing so complicated as Yu-Gi-Oh! When it comes to like activating effects and chain and priority and all this. Yeah. Let's start off with some of the most basic things you need to understand about Digimon. There are some sections of the board on which you need to know. In Digimon, there is the deck zone, the trash zone, the raising area, the battle area where most of your Digimon will be fighting against other Digimon and trying to win against your opponent. And then right here in the top corner is the top left corner is your security, which is the thing that your opponent will be trying to hit from you so that way they can win. There's also the counter. This is how you know when it becomes your opponent's turn versus when it becomes your turn, and then that's how you draw your cards, a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! You evolve, you attack, you can evolve some more. If you haven't already attacked with the Digimon, then you know it won't be rested. The only thing that is sort of mandatory when it comes to following your steps is when it's your turn, you draw your card, and as soon as your turn starts, you have to raise your Digimon. I will be explaining that a little bit further later. So moving on to the different types of cards that you'll be running into in this card game. You have Tamers, that these guys give you effects depending on what it is on your turn. They also have security effects, which is if they are flipped over in your security when your opponent attacks you, that effect will activate. So then you end up doing what it says at the bottom. We also have option cards. These are like the equivalent of spell cards. You activate these from your hand when it's your turn. You can't activate these from your field because there's no spell or trap card zone in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know how to otherwise reference that, but these guys can only be played from your hand when it's your turn, or on the field when it's flipped over on your security zone, exactly like a Tamer card. There's also Digimon, obviously. These guys will be attacking your opponent and hopefully winning you many games in the future. So yeah, these are the three basic cards that you'll be running into when you're playing this game. Completely new section now. We're going to be talking about the different kinds of colors in Digimon. In Digimon, we have 6 different types of colors. Each color does something specific in terms of like it specializes in something. Blue is meant to gain card advantage by drawing cards when your opponent doesn't have any Digivolution sources underneath its Digimon. Purple works with the trash zone, so they will purposely get rid of their own Digimon and delete some of yours, so that way they can have better effects when their Digimon are in the grave. Red is mostly just for pumping up and then just smacking into your opponent, just basically making their own Digimon stronger to get over anything, as well as deleting something with a special card called Gaia Force. Yellow basically kills your Digimon by using option cards or Digimon with effects that have on play where they reduce your Digimon's DP, which is their equivalent of attack power. Black is mostly just for power, as well as blockers, as well as cards with effects called Reboot, which I will explain in a second. And green mostly generates advantage by pumping out as many Digimon as possible, using the effects of their Tamers, from what I've seen. I haven't really played too many of them. So now I want to explain the different types of Digimon. From what I have here, there are on deletion effects, there are jamming effects, there are on play effects, and then there are cards called blockers. Blockers, I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. If your opponent attacks into you, you can force them to attack this Digimon by resting it, so that way you can either protect one of your other weaker Digimon or protect one of your other stronger Digimon, or defend your life from being completely annihilated at the end of the game. On play cards are if you play this from your hand, you gain the effect corresponding to the on play. Jamming is if you smack into your opponent's life, being the security zone. No matter how strong that Digimon is that they flip over in their security zone, this Digimon will survive. And on deletion effects is pretty on the nose as well. If this card gets deleted, you get the effect corresponding. There's also something called Reboot, which is when you suspend your Digimon to try to attack your opponent. At the end of the turn, it will automatically restand your Digimon. So if it is a blocker and at the same time has Reboot, it's kind of annoying. That's actually what the Black War Greymon does in this game so far. It's so good. So speaking of the different types of Digimon as well, there's also ways that you Digivolve up your evolutionary tree so that way you can get to your more stronger Digimon. When you are Digivolving into your other Digimon, there is a cost right here, as you can see, that allows you to know how much it's going to cost you from the memory gauge to actually Digivolve up to the next Digimon. You can also just play this directly into the battle area, but then you would have to pay the higher cost. Realistically, it's the cost of playing a Digimon directly to the field. Every Digimon card, except for, with exception of the Digitamas or babies, these guys stay in the back. You can't bring these from here to the front. But to continue elaborating on this, you can just summon this from your hand, pay the 2 cost, and then Digivolve from here. You could also Digivolve separately, but it'll cost you more. When you Digivolve your Digimon all the way up, speaking to inheritable effects, the Digimon at the top will receive the effects of all the Digimon underneath regarding this small square right here. It will gain those effects, and it has its own effects as well. This one says when attacking, so being when it rests itself, you can play another Digimon 3 or 4 underneath it, so that way you can basically have a free summon without paying the cost. That's why I personally like blue. Very aggressive. Something to note in this game is that you also cannot Digivolve your Digimon from other colors, even if the level on the bottom is going up. So for example, you can go from a level 3 to a level 4 Digimon as long as it's red, you're following the same color scheme. These things up here are also to show you that it stays within the red colors. When it goes to blue as well, you can do this. Going from 3 to 4, you cannot take a level 4 blue Digimon and go over a level 3 red Digimon. That is just not allowed in this game right now. There is the only exception of Omnimon, and the only reason that this is allowed is because right here it has a blue and red 6. So it lets you know you can use a blue or red level 6 Digimon because it's a level 7 to Digivolve into this with a cost of 6. You could also hard play this for 15. Again, that's really up to you if you want to give your opponent that much memory. It just gives them more room to try to get at your Omnimon as well as end your life completely in this game and win the match. I personally prefer not giving my opponent that much memory. Something else to know is option cards are only played within their own color as well. If you have a red Digimon out on the field, you cannot play this blue option card. If you had a red and blue Digimon out on the field, you can then play your blue option card. If this was gone, you could play your blue option card. This comes into play only because this is very important, because effects may look very good, and while it would be nice to mix and match colors in this game right now, the only deck that really does this is Rookie Rush, and this is actually very important because the majority of the time they will try to keep their green Digimon on the field to try to impede you using Flower Cannon. But if you can somehow get rid of their green Digimon, you can stop them from using green option cards. They do run green and blue. If you gave them a cost of 5 by playing a Grizzlymon and you gave them that much memory, they can then play this, a 3, bringing them down to 0, and then this, and give you 2 memory. This basically just gets rid of 3 of your security checks, and they don't really care about these. It's more to just end you as quickly as possible, but this is how they revolve around winning the game, is just to put as many bodies on board and overwhelm you with their field presence. Something to know, just for the back wall, you could put a pin in it. It's not really super prevalent, but if somebody tells you that they're playing red Omnimon, it's usually just that they're playing a red deck with Omnimon in it. There also is blue Omnimon, which is what I play. So the main goal of the game right now is to just get rid of your security cards from your security area. As the game progresses, your opponent will either summon out as many bodies as possible or try to overwhelm you with very strong Digimon. But while they're doing that, they will be attacking into either your security or your other Digimon from the battle area that you use to attack them to try to bring down the amount of Digimon on your side of the field. If your opponent has a Digimon such as this one and they swing into your security area to try to whittle you down little by little, whittle, not wheedle. Um, they will hit into another Digimon or an option card, and you'll gain the corresponding effect if it's an option card. However, in this instance, we hit a blue Gabumon with a DP of 1000. Since the DP is lower than Elecmon's, this will go to the trash. Elecmon will stay on the field, but it will be tapped or suspended, as they say in this game. If he were to smack into something stronger, like the Omnimon, the Elecmon would go to the grave, but this would also then go to the grave. You now have that many security checks to go through. Your opponent will need to hit you a maximum of 6 times to get rid of your security area, and then once more to hit you directly for game. The only reason I'm saying 6 times is because that's the total, but 5 security checks plus the 1 to hit you directly for winning. So in this game, you're only supposed to have 50 cards in your deck, and the Digitamas are supposed to be a maximum of 5. You can have less. It does not hurt you to have 5 because it just helps you with Digivolving for free in the first go. Going from the baby to a rookie, it helps you climb the tree faster. But basically, your Digitamas will be here in the raising area, and your deck will be up here in the deck zone. Going off into a brief how-to. Okay, you will start off by shuffling your own deck. You will hand it to your opponent. Your opponent will shuffle as well. You can also then shuffle your own Digitamas because there are, well, I run 5. Some people run 4, and they only run 4 of the same copy, so it won't really matter. But you can shuffle your own Digitamas and then have your opponent shuffle yours as well as you shuffling theirs, just to mix up the order in which the babies are in. The first 5 cards will immediately go to your security zone, so that will be up here on the top left. And then the next 5 will be your cards for your hand. The first player does not draw, the second player does. That is the only thing we have in common with Yu-Gi-Oh! So far. You will each roll your die. First player goes first. You will basically look at your cards. So this is actually a pretty bad hand. With 2 Omnimons, this is why I only run 3. Oh, this would have been bad if I had actually had a third one in there. But so you would actually have your 5 cards in hand. Next, you would flip over your egg from your raising area, and then you would play your Digimon in the corresponding way. I mean, I don't really know how to explain this. This is more just going from level 2 to level 3, and then that costs for 0. So when you do Digivolve in this game, you then draw a card. That is a way to replenish your hand. And from here, you can either Digivolve your own Digimon again for the smaller cost, or you can play directly onto the field, so that way next turn you can have 2 bodies instead of just 1. Just for an example, let's say that I played it directly on top of my own Digimon here, and now it's my opponent's turn, and I gave them 2 memory. Let's say that they went through their thing. They gave me 2 memory back. As soon as this counter goes from 0 into my area, then it becomes my turn immediately, and I draw 1 card. That is how this game goes so far. You will then raise your Digimon up into the battle area, and then from here you cannot raise after you have brought out your Digimon from the raising area. That's just the general rule for the game. Next, you can summon out another Digimon. It goes for a count 2 because we're going for the on play, and then from here you go into a 3. So then you give your opponent 3 memory. You are not drawing because these Digimon were not Digivolved. They were just played directly out onto the field, so there's no draw for that. I could have gone into the Monzimon, but I prefer to have a blocker on the board. Let's say your opponent goes and checks your security. If their Digimon was weaker than 7,000, it would die, or if it even met 7,000, it would die. But the security then goes to the grave. Either live or die, it would either stay on field or go to the grave as well. Then let's say that they gave you 4 memory. You now draw one card. At this point, you can then flip another card here. And in most cases, you will try to keep some rookies in your hand so that way you can use this area to your advantage and not have to play the on-play cost. In this game, you can end your turn. Let's say you only had these two guys in your hand and there was really nothing else you could do. You can tell your opponent that you end your turn, and no matter where you're at, you will give them automatically 3 memory to start with. That is just the way the game goes. If your opponent checks you for all of your security, actually, this is a really good one. When your opponent smacks into something like this, the security effect here, as you can tell with the little lock, will activate, and it says gain 2 memory. It will bring down their memory gauge from, let's say, 3 to 1, so it brings them closer to your turn and it gives them less memory to work with. But when they get rid of all of this, after they get rid of all that, you really have to try to prioritize keeping yourself alive, so then that's when your blockers come in handy. There are some more nuances to the game as well, more because like people do have questions when it comes to security checks and when it becomes your turn. Let's say when somebody smacks into a hammer spark but their Digimon had a security +1, the opponent does get the extra security check, mostly because even if it does become your turn, the security check does go through because the Digimon is still on board. So that's a small ruling thing. The game is still fairly new, but the rules are, we don't even have a ban list. So as the game goes on, I will be updating whatever I can. But if the video is actually pretty long already, this is going to be a pain in the butt to edit. Thank you guys if you guys watched this video as far as you guys did. I really do appreciate it. I will be uploading some Digimon gameplay because I did go to a tournament. I recorded myself playing there, so I will have some actual life examples. Thank you guys again for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.